And so the result is I end up with a buck that's just covered in fat. That's all of his energy reserves that he had stored up before going into the rut. We can take that energy and turn it into things for our own use. So it's really cool.
Welcome to our show, where we measure success in memories made and knowledge gained, not inches scored. And our goal is to learn and share tips that help us all become better outdoorsmen and women. Along the way, we'll have some laughs and record new experiences as we promote our passion for the great outdoors. This is Total Outdoor Pursuit.
All right, so I got a really awesome opportunity this year that I typically wouldn't get. And if you saw the video where I got my buck this year, I was super lucky. I was able to get out there the first morning that I went out hunting for a buck, and within an hour he came right to me. I got about a 12-yard shot, and it just worked out perfect. This guy made the mistake of showing up a couple too many times within the last 24 hours, real close to daylight, and I knew there's a chance that he's getting, even if we're not seeing him on the camera, there's a chance he's in that area during shooting hours. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That's my Indiana buck for the year. I couldn't be more happy. One less running around for my wife, so I apologize about that. But hey, maybe she'll get a bigger one. Now, usually I'm so busy in the taxidermy shop this time of year that I don't really go out hardly at all during bow season, and I end up going out after the deer has already been through the rut. He's burned all of his fat and his energy reserves. You know, this year I was lucky enough to have one of those few times that I get to go out during bow season pan out. And so the result is I end up with a buck that's just covered in fat. That's all of his energy reserves that he had stored up before going into the rut. And I get to take advantage of those. I get to take that and turn that into some useful things for me in the future. You know, a lot of people will just trim that all off and just throw it away, and you might as well save it and turn it into something that's gonna be a cool memento to the hunt and something that you can use in the future. When it comes to butchering deer, a lot of people will actually get pork fat or beef fat and mix it into their ground venison and stuff. I typically don't do that just because my wife and I prefer to keep it as lean as possible. We love the fact that it's so lean already. So you could actually mix this in. Most people prefer the taste of like a pork fat or a beef fat over the deer fat. You could actually mix it in if you wanted to. It's going to be a little bit gamier than what you might be used to though. Instead, I'm going to keep it lean. We're going to pull that fat off. We're going to fillet it off almost like you're filleting a fillet off of a fish. And we're going to save that all, and then we'll show you how we can put that to use. Cool thing about deer fat is that deer has created that fat by eating, and he's storing up all that fat for what purpose? Energy. He's got the rut coming up. He knows he's going to be out chasing does, not going to be doing a lot of eating, so he's going to store all of his energy on his body. Since we were able to harvest that buck, we can take that energy and turn it into things for our own use. So it's really cool. We're going to cook this down. We're going to render this fat, turn it into what we call tallow, which is basically we liquefy it. You can actually use this for cooking and stuff. All of the things that I'm going to be using are just simply for the purpose of survival uses, candles, fire starters, bird suet, things like that. So it won't be for human consumption. Otherwise, I'd be a lot more careful with how I'm storing this in the meantime and how I'm cooking down the things that I'm using, how clean it is and stuff. Now we're going to take the first batch that's been rendered and we're going to go ahead and pour it slowly over the hardware cloth into another stock pot. Now this is metal. The reason I'm doing this is I want to be able to heat that up later on and get that to re-liquefy again to pour into smaller containers. If you have smaller containers to begin with, just go ahead and pour it into that, but I'm storing this all in one big batch and then I'll pull from it when I need. You can also take it, let it cool, and then you can actually cut it into little bars and store it that way for different projects. You could actually eat this if you stored it properly prior to rendering it. It's just cooked meat, and actually boiled in the fat, it actually is pretty good. Another thing you can do with this, extra meat that's left over, you can let it cool down and cut it up into pieces and feed it to animals, you know, your cats, dogs, chickens, things like that. So make use of everything that you can. It's really actually extremely healthy for you. If you do some research on it, you'll find out that it's loaded with vitamins, all kinds of different acids and things that your body needs that makes it really useful for you. So highly recommend it. I mean, don't just throw it in the pile and get rid of it. Save it, put it to good use, and you can do some really cool things with it.